So hello everyone, and thank you for making it all the way into our next to last event of Fashion Revolution Week. We are very, very happy to have Olivia with us today and with her Mending Your Knit workshop. So a very short introduction here and housekeeping. So potentially some of you have already been around during our events this week, but as you know, we are recording, and with this one we are also live streaming on YouTube. So please make sure that you are aware that if you don't want to be seen either or heard, you refrain yourself from activating your video or your microphone. Otherwise, everything is as usual. Please participate. If you have any question, you can use the chat. And now I leave it to Olivia to introduce her workshop. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Filippo. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me for today's workshop on upcycling a t-shirt, using that to finger knit, and then mending, if you wish, a knit garment. So just a quick introduction about myself, if you guys aren't familiar. I am a positive knitwear designer from Ottawa, Canada. I work with collaborators and social initiatives in London and in Italy with a goal to be climate and people positive. So let's get started. I wanted to quickly see where I've got some participants from today. If anybody wants to just start, tell their first name and where they're from quickly, just because I think we have people from all over. Anybody? And if you don't want to be on the YouTube live, that's totally fine, but we can get started here if not. Okay. So the first, I'll just show you what the finished product of what we're going to be doing today. So this is a patch that I've mended in a jumper. So essentially, if you've got a run in your jumper or anything that is knitted, we're going to be finishing the edge so that doesn't fray anymore. And then also making a patch that we'll be putting in, we'll be knitting that with our fingers out of a t-shirt and stopping that. And you don't even have to, I'm doing this because I want to have more color in my jumper. If you guys know me well, I'm a very vibrant designer and have a slight obsession with yellow. So we're going to be just adding some fun to our garments and kind of prolonging the longevity of love of our pieces. So what we're going to do first is essentially make this t-shirt yarn, and we're going to be making a knit with our fingers using that. So these are the kind of patches that we'll be making. So we'll start with our t-shirts here. So I have mentioned that you could bring a couple of colors of t-shirts just because it adds a little bit more color if you want, but do what you would like. The first thing we're going to do is flatten out our t-shirt onto the table. I'm going to bring the camera just to show what I'm doing. Okay, if everybody can see that. So first, I had mentioned to bring a ruler, a blade, or scissors. And you can start by drawing a line straight across from the armhole to the other armhole, because we're not going to be using the top portion of the t-shirt. If you guys want to reach out to me after the workshop, and I can give you some ideas on how to use that so it doesn't go in the bin after we're done. But for this purpose of this workshop, we're not going to be using that. Okay, so I've kind of got a little bit of a line there. Also, I wanted to note if anybody has any questions, as Filippo mentioned, just put them in the chat. And Jalen, who is my strategic social media intern, will notify me that you have any questions, and I'm happy to always answer them throughout the workshop. If you want me to take a look at your process and make sure you're doing it right, or have any concerns, then just give me a heads up and I'll stop what I'm doing and make sure that you're following along. So what we're going to do is we're going to just cut across this line that we made. Okay, and we'll just put this piece of the t-shirt aside. So now what we have is a tube. So how to make the yarn? The first thing you're going to do is take your ruler If you don't have a clear one like mine, like I'll be marking the lines this way, and I can show you quickly. If you want like a looser knit, you could do like 1.5 centimeters width. I'm gonna do 2.5 centimeters, which makes a knit that's kind of this chunky, which is nice for finger knitting. So from the bottom, from the hem, I'll mark 2.5 centimeters on the side and maybe a little bit over, like 10 centimeters over, I'll mark another dot. And I'm going to connect those. I'm not going to draw my line all the way through. And then I'm going to do that again, all the way up to the top. And we're leaving the middle of the t-shirt unmarked. So since I have a clear ruler, I'm going to just do my lines like this. Okay. Okay, and once we've done one side, we'll do the other side. So same deal, don't bring it all the way to the middle there. Start from the hem, measure up 2.5 centimeters or whatever width of yarn you want to use. Okay. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward for the first portion. If anybody has any questions, let me know. But this is what it should look like when you're done marking your lines. Okay. We're gonna, since the hem is uneven, because usually the back is a bit longer than the front, just cut off the excess on the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to use a rotary blade. It's a bit faster. You guys can use scissors or whatever you have handy. But what we're going to do is now we're going to cut into these lines. And again, don't cut through the middle. Leave that open and just cut through the lines that you marked. excess on the top here. Okay, so now it should look like that. On one side, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This is an arm workout. All right. Just cutting off the excess here to make sure that the width is consistent. Okay. So just make sure that everything you cut, there's no like little bits that are still attached, and that you cut through everything. If you're using rotary, sometimes that doesn't go all the way through the fabric. All right. So this is how your t-shirt should look now. What you need to do is you're going to need to connect this side. So we're going to go from right to left. Sorry for any of you who are left-handed. We're going to connect this side to the left side, the right side to the left side. But we're going to move from one row, say the bottom row, we're going to connect it to the next row. So it becomes this spiral that continues all the way up. So it's continuous yarn. So I'll show you. I can mark it out first with my pen to make it clear. And you're going to just do the one layer. Don't go through both layers, because we'll do that the bottom layer after. We'll flip it around. So this second row, I'm going to connect to this bottom row. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. If it's easier for you, you can just draw the lines in to make sure that you don't get confused. So if you see what I mean, bottom to the top, and we're just going to keep doing that all the way until we get to the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut and do it by eye. Okay, then we move to the next one. And the next one. Okay, we're almost at the end. The lines don't have to be perfect. The edges are going to kind of curl, and you won't be able to see that much when it's become a knit. So don't worry about it being absolutely perfect, guys. Okay. So one more row. Okay, so after that, now this is what one side of the t-shirt should look like. Remember, the other side is still connected, so we're going to now flip it around very carefully. So kind of like a spatula. Just make sure it doesn't get too tangled. Flip it around. Okay, so now we have this side we need to connect. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure we go in the exact same direction that we went on the other side. So we're going to go, if you went right to left, down to up, do the exact same on this side. If you do the opposite, you will end up with a bunch of tubes, which does not turn into a ball of yarn. So made that mistake before, just an FYI. Okay, so we have all of our strips here. I'm going to start with the right side. Again, just to clarify, I'll draw a line here. So going from the bottom of the right to the second row of the left. So I'm going to draw a line here. And this is connecting to here. And I'm just going to keep going like that all the way up, just like we did on the other side. Again, only cut through one layer. Okay, almost at the top. If anybody has any questions about this process, you can stick it in the chat or ask away. But hopefully everyone is clear on this first. All right. Okay, the last one, which will cut flush with the edge. Okay, so now you should have a continuous yarn. So I'm going to start wrapping it around my hand so we can make a ball of yarn. I believe there will be two because it will have finished at the top and the bottom. Don't worry about it getting tangled now. Just wrap around. Yeah, so we'll have one, and then that's going to be our second ball because they finish at the top and the bottom. Okay. Just making the second ball of yarn. So if you want to add more color than just the one color of that t-shirt, you can cut up another t-shirt in a different color and have different colors of yarn. I have already made a different color before the workshop, a few different colors of yellow. Bear with me. Okay. So the next step, now we have our yarn. We're going to make our patches. Okay, you won't need your pens or anything anymore, just your scissors. And I've got a jumper for this. So I've got a couple more holes I want to fill with a couple different colors. Again, I've already done one here. That's how it's going to look in the end. It's easiest to have a chunky sweater because then there's room for you to kind of put that that yarn through. If you don't have a very chunky sweater, the difference between this knit, which is quite chunky, and the thinness of the other knit will be a lot. But if you want like a textural effect, you can do that because this is quite like how thick it is. You would have to put it in with a sewing needle and just sew that in. But for this purposes of this workshop, I'll show you guys how to work with a chunky knit right now. So first we're going to make our patch. So we're going to learn how to finger knit. So what you do is you always want to have a long strand on the end. We're going to make a slip knot. So make a loop and twist your loop. Okay. Take your ball end, make another loop, and then stick it through that first loop. And then you're going to pull on the two ends and pull on the loop so that you finish with a slip knot. And the reason it's a slip knot, if you guys haven't made one before, is because when you pull it, it just comes undone. So I'll do that quickly again. Okay. So we have our slip knot. So what we're going to do is make a chain of slip knots for our fingers. So again, same exact thing. Make a loop and put it through that loop and then pull. Not too tight because you want to fit your fingers through these. We have 4 fingers, so we started off with 1 loop. We just made a second one. So we're going to make 2 more loops. One, and stick another loop through. 2. Okay. So we're going to use, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to be knitting with my right hand, and my left hand, my 4 fingers are going to act as needles. So I'm going to stick my fingers through the top 4 loops that I just created. So that last one there. So we have it across all 4 fingers here. Remember to keep your long tail. That we'll deal with later. Once you've done that, now it's time to start knitting. So you're going to take your ball side of your yarn and just place it across your 4 fingers on top of the loops that are on there. And then from the side that you started on, so mine is on my index finger, I started from that side. I'm going to start by lifting the first loop over the second one. Like so. And that's it. Essentially, just keep doing that, but that is finger knitting. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You just keep bringing this ball yarn back and forth on your fingers. And moving the first loop over the second loop. And I'll just do a few rows here to show you guys, but it'll start forming those knit formations. So the knit structure is like little V's. So it'll start showing up on the other side, and I'll show you guys that in a bit, but you'll start seeing that it's becoming a knit. And you want to just keep going until you think the length of your swatch, of your little patch, has become the size of your hole. So if you want to like measure that beforehand, you can. I usually just eye it. So if I can show you guys here, if you see these little V's here, that's a knit formation. So we're doing that on our fingers. The tighter you pull, if you have like a really stretchy knit or not so much a stretchy knit, the tighter you pull, the chunkier it's going to be, the thicker it's going to be. If you leave it kind of looser, it's just going to have a nice loose, finer kind of feel, which might be a little bit more comfortable on the body. So, but up to you what kind of effect you want. If you want it to be rigid or if you want to loosen it. So hopefully this is also pretty straightforward for you all. Okay, so I've got my patch here. I'm going to say this is a good size for my hole. Okay, so now we need to finish it. So what we're going to do is, starting with the one with our ball yarn length, we're going to move that loop off of the finger and onto the adjacent one. Okay, then just as we would before, we're going to knit a row, but instead of just taking one, we're going to take both of these loops and pull them over our finger, and then knit across the regular other two, just the way we did before. And that is a decrease. So we're going to do that until we have one left. So we're going to move our index finger over to our middle finger because we're coming from the other side now. And then we're going to knit. And then the last one, ring finger, over to middle finger and knit that last one. So now what we're finished with is a loop, one single loop left. So I'm going to make sure I have a good length of yarn, and I'm going to cut that. And in order to finish, like, these are all essentially kind of slip knots. So in order, if you pull on this, the whole thing will come undone. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we'll take the end of our yarn that we just cut and stick it through a loop. And then you're going to just pull it taut. So now this isn't going to come undone. So that is how you make a finger knit patch. If you want to make something from scratch, you can just keep knitting. And what you would do, which I can also teach you after as an alternative to mending something, is you can connect the two and make whatever you want. You could make wall art, a little bag, whatever it is you want to make with your finger knit. But it'll only ever be as wide as your 4 fingers. So just keep that in mind. You'll just have to connect widthwise. Okay, so next we're gonna put this patch into our knit. So what we have to do before we do that is we have to finish the edge. You can choose to use the same color or a different color, but it's going to leave, like, we're going to be knitting all the way around just to make sure it doesn't come undone before we set that in. So I'm going to take the same color of yarn as I had before, because that's what I'm choosing to do. Again, make sure there's a length on it. Make a loop, and then take that loop, and you can start anywhere you want. We're just going to go in a circle. Just stick that loop through a hole in your knit on the edge. Okay, so leave your length aside. Take the ball side of the yarn and then stick a loop through that and pull. So we're making another slip knot here, but it's attached to the edge of the garment, of the edge of the hole, sorry. Okay, we're just going to keep doing that. So if you want it to be consistent, I'm going from the top to the bottom, or you can go bottom to top. So I'll show you that from top to bottom, and then again, pull through a loop.
Hey, Olivia, sorry, but we have one question from Bab SBNZ from
Yep.
out of Tucson, Arizona, from on the YouTube live. They're
Yep.
asking, can't you also knit the patch using knitting needles?
You can, but this is for anyone who doesn't have knitting needles, and it's yeah, you can do whatever you want. For the purposes of this workshop, I'm teaching how to use your fingers to do finger knitting, because it's not something as common, and something you can just do at home quickly without having to go out and buy knitting needles. But yeah, of course, you can use anything you want. So if you can see, it's got a nice finish to the edge now. So we're just going to be doing that all the way around. And this is also something, if you want to just finish the edge like this and leave it without putting a patch in, that's also an option. Super nice finish. And then you can put holes in your knit on purpose, just to add some detail to it. There's a seam cotton here. If you guys have like a thick needle that's used for weaving yarn in, if any of you guys are already knitters, that is also very useful in this case, because it can be quite precarious, kind of jamming it in there with your fingers like I am. But I'm trying to use the least supplies possible, just so you guys have what I have too. Just getting that out of the way. I am about halfway there. And it doesn't matter really what holes you're sticking it into on the edge there. Just if you're wondering. Just as long as it's on the edge and it feels secure. So I'm like leaving, you know, if you like have a pull in your knit, you're gonna have these kind of loose floats. I like that detail, like I used on this one, I kind of left them. So I'm going, my hole is actually down here. So I'm gonna finish that and leave this as a detail. You can like cut those off and get rid of them if you want. But just so you're aware if it looks a bit unclear or messy. If you use a less stretchy yarn, see how this is stretching pretty nicely right now? If you use a less stretchy yarn, which like this one, it's not gonna stretch at all. So it's gonna be a pretty rigid hole. So again, that's your call. But just so you know the difference. And again, this workshop will be posted on the Fashion Revolution Fashion Open Studio YouTube after. So if you guys need to go back for reference and follow this again, it will be there. So you can watch it all through again. Okay, this is how it's gone. I'm almost done. Okay, I'm almost at the end. Just one more stitch here. And I'm just gonna go over the same hole where I started just to finish that circle off. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, same as last time, make sure you have a length, cut it, and then put the end through the loop again and pull it until it's tight. So now you can see it's kind of like a chain stitch all the way around. You finish the edge. So we're going to deal with these ends later. For now, what I want you to do is just stick them inside your garment. And like I said, if you want this to be just finished like this and have like a cool hole in your jumper and just finish some different size holes like that, that's totally an option. But we're going to fill this patch here with the one, sorry, the hole with the patch that we just made. So this patch is going to go in behind the sweater. You can do whatever you want. If you want to kind of attach it on top, like whatever kind of effect that you want. I'm just choosing to do it the same way that I did before. Same technique. I'm going to stick it in behind. And like I did with the other one, I like these kind of floats that are sitting on top. I think that's like a nice contrast and a cool detail. So I'm going to leave those on top of it. So once you think once it's in the right place, if you're doing it the way I am, if not, if you want to do it like this, we're going to do this technique. You can do it like on this side, but I'm going to do it on the inside, and I'm going to flip this to the inside. So just make this a bit clearer here. Okay. So my patch is covering the hole. I'm going to take my yarn again. Same exact thing. I'm going to make a loop with a long end. And instead of doing just one layer, we just did like the finishing of the hole around in one layer. We're going to do the same technique, but we're going to go through the sweater and through the patch. So it connects them all the way around. So I'm actually going to use the yarn that I just put in to finish because it's got nice big holes and it's going to make it easy. And so put your loop through that, the sweater side loop, and then through a loop on the finger knit on the edge. Okay, so there's a lot of yarn here. These are all ends that we'll deal with later. So we've got our loop and we've got the yarn side end, sorry, the ball side end. We're going to stick again a loop with our ball side yarn through the initial loop, and then we're going to pull that. Okay. So now they're connected. So we're just going to do that all the way around again. So take your loop, stick it through. This one's a bit tight. Okay. Then grab the edge of your knit, stick it through, take your ball side yarn, loop through, and pull. I just grabbed the wrong end. Sorry, guys. so many ends here. Okay, let's start over. Through there, loop through, pull tight. Okay. Through here, through the next one, ball side, loop through, pull tight. There we go. Okay, next, through sweater side, through knit side, balls, yarn, pull through and pull tight. So it's starting to be connected. We're going to do that all the way around. Can be a bit finicky with your fingers. Hopefully this is clear enough for everyone to see, but anyone in the workshop can always email me any questions after, and I'd be happy to help you through the process. Okay, nearly halfway around. Okay, so I'm like halfway done now. So you can see it's all attached with a chain. And I just have to go around this side now. Noticed I missed a bit here, so I'm just going to grab it so it doesn't fray. Okay, I'm nearly at the end. I am at the end. I'm going to do one more to finish my circle. Okay, make my loop, same thing. I'm going to cut a length that is long enough from the ball and stick the end through my loop to finish and pull. Okay. So now if you look from the other side, there's a finished patch and I have my floats over top, which is what I wanted. And what we have left to do is to get rid of all these ends and make it neat. So what you're basically going to do is just like weave these ends through however which way in the backside, just to get rid of them, and that way they won't come out. If you cut it close to it, you risk all of these kind of slip knots, which is essentially how the knit structure is made, coming out and just coming off completely, right? So we're just going to make sure that doesn't happen by securing all these ends in. I'll show you how to do that. It's not really a specific way to do it. Just keep kind of looping it around and around in the back so it doesn't come out. So I'm happy with that one. I think it's looped around enough that there's no way that's gonna come out. So I'm just gonna cut it where I finished it. And if you pull it a bit, it'll like hide the end in there. So that's one. Just do the same thing with the rest of your ends to hide them. That one, cut it. And that yarn that I'm cutting off, if you just tie it end to end, you can add it back to your ball of yarn and use it for another swatch, or sew it if you want like a really neat finish. No, not in the middle of your knit. Okay. Cut that one. Got a few more here. Again, I hope everything is clear enough that nobody has any questions or concerns. If you do, please let me know. Happy to answer. Happy with that one. And one more I need to deal with. Okay. Let's stick this guy back in. He popped out. That. And that is all of our ends in the back of the knit. Gone. And that's what the front looks like. So when it's finished, you have a knit patch that filled your hole with a finished edge. So yeah, that's basically it. If you want to add some more color, make some bigger holes, be my guest. I might add some green in here or some other yellows or a huge hole. And just so you're aware, if you want to, connect two panels, like I had mentioned before, you would just use the same technique that we use several times, which is sticking the loop through each side from the back side and kind of doing that same technique along the edge to join them. If you want to make a rib, you can also flip one of them and you would do right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side. So this is the right side of the fabric and this is the wrong side of the fabric. So it kind of has this beveled look to it, like a rib. I hope that's clear enough. If any of you have any questions or want to know more about that, feel free to send me a message or an email. And if any of you want to check out my work, it's at www.oliviarubens.ca and at oliv.iarubens, IARUBENS on Instagram. So give us a follow and check us out. I hope that you guys found this workshop useful today and that you'll have fun upcycling your t-shirts or mending any of your knits in future. So thanks so much for attending. Hopefully there are no more questions. If you do, again, just reach out. Thank you.
Olivia, thank you so much. It's been great. Lovely to see this workshop. So I would say, as you said, is there any questions, that's a good moment. So you can put them on a chat or you can use your video. Otherwise, I would say we leave Olivia to her Sunday. And everybody else. Anyway, as Olivia mentioned, the video will be also on YouTube. It's streaming at the moment, and then it would be on the Fashion Revolution channel on the Fashion Open Studio playlist. So I can see there is a thank you so much for hosting this workshop from Royal Luo. I'm not so sure I pronounce it well. I hope so. Anyway, Olivia, thank you very, very much on our last day of Fashion Revolution Week. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And I wish you a good Sunday and a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.